Hey, I'm Johnny Max, lead singer of the Johnny Max Band, and I am here on my debut for Toronto Mic'd, and I am so excited.
What up, Mike? Toronto. VK on the beat.
Johnny, we're worried. Won't you come on home? We're sorry.
Wanna get a city love. I'm with Toronto Mike. Wanna get a city love. My city love me back for my city love.
Welcome to episode 1889 of Toronto Mic'd, an award-winning podcast proudly brought to you by Great Lakes Brewery. Order online at greatlakesbeer.com for free. That's right, free local home delivery in the GTA. Palma Pasta. Enjoy the taste of fresh, homemade Italian pasta and entrees from Palma Pasta in Mississauga and Oakville. Visit palmapasta.com for more. Fusion Corp's own Nick Iones. He's the host of Building Toronto Skyline and Mike and Nick, two podcasts that you ought to listen to. RecycleMyElectronics.ca. Committing to our planet's future means properly recycling our electronics of the past. And Ridley Funeral Home, pillars of the community since 1921. Joining me today, making his Toronto Mic'd debut, better late than never, right, Johnny?
That's so true.
From the award-winning Johnny Max Band, it's Johnny Max. Hey, Johnny, how you doing, buddy?
Woo! I'm doing all right. It's a sunny day here in the south part of Etobicoke, where I grew up.
So whereabouts did you grow up exactly?
Well, I grew up in the rich part. I grew up in a Kingsway.
Yeah, you know, those houses are huge.
Yeah, well, we didn't have a house. We rented. We were the only renters that I knew of at my school in the Kingsway. So
okay, because I do a bike ride often where I'll do a little loop through the cemetery there, Park Lawn Cemetery,
Yep.
and then if you head north, and I'm on those streets, and you're in a rich neighborhood when they take away the sidewalks.
Oh yeah.
What's that about? Like anytime you see, there's no sidewalk. Oh yeah. Rich people live here, and they don't want guys like me waltzing around their neighborhood.
No, plus they all drive. Right?
They all drive, and they drive. I don't know what it was like when you lived down here, but the cars are getting bigger, Johnny.
Well, they are. Listen, when I was growing up, it was all bike riding, so it's all my friends out on White Oak and Montgomery and
oh yeah. Shout out to the Montgomery Inn.
Oh yeah,
on Dundas.
There was a kid in my school. His dad ran that before it became run by the city, sort of thing. So we used to play ball hockey in the ballroom there.
Okay, well that's for J-Ho. So J-Ho, if you're listening, he's the official historian of the Toronto Mic'd podcast. Let's get a game going at that Montgomery Inn there on Dundas there. But the pool, I used to swim at the old Montgomery pool there. Memorial Pool
And Central Arena. I played hockey in Humber Valley. I coached in Humber Valley for about 26 years out of 29.
Okay, you're bringing me back. I know this neighborhood well, and I'm going to shout out a listener named Rick A. Rick A is a legend in the TMU, the Toronto Mic'd universe. He had a website that would pay tribute to the old the kid shows you'd watch on TV Ontario back in the 70s.
Oh.
Shout out to Rick A, only because he lives in one of those giant houses in that neighborhood. So, hey, Rick, you can afford a ticket. Okay, Johnny, this is important. I am headlining at the El Macombo on May 21st.
Ooh.
Tickets are now available. Rick A., you can afford a ticket. I've seen your home, buddy. I delivered a sticker to this guy, and I saw the home, and I said, this guy will one day buy a couple of tickets to see me at the El Macombo. So that's happening May 21.
Wow.
So before we bring it all the way back to you, because I got questions for you, Johnny Max.
Okay.
I will just announce to the listenership that there's of course, Rob Pruce is on stage with me. He's a keyboardist from Spoons and Honeymoon Suite. So you already have a great musical legend in our midst when I'm performing my one-man show at the El Macombo on May 21. Tickets now available. But I have locked up a very, very special guest. I'm not going to disclose guests, actually, but this is kind of epic for the TMU. So I just want everybody to know there is a very special guest or two lined up for May 21 beyond Rob Pruce and I.
Wow.
There you
Sounds
go.
very exciting.
Well, listen.
May 21st at the El Macombo. Be there.
Did you always have that voice?
Yep.
How much do you charge for voiceover services, Johnny Max?
I have grown into this voice and this face. I looked like this when I was 14.
Really? But did you have that voice when you were 14?
No.
You had to smoke some cigs for that?
Oh,
What's
yeah,
going on?
no, that was 25 years of 3-packs a day, buddy.
Isn't it kind of a tragic part of life that the only way to get the voice you want is you got to smoke like a chimney?
Yep. It's I got told by Danny B, if the listeners remember that iconic Toronto blues singer, and when I quit smoking, he said, "Johnny, you got to dance with the girl who brought you here."
Got to keep going.
Yep.
Okay. Well, then if you keep going, you might have to shout out Ridley Funeral Home.
Been there many's a time.
Well, let me give you a gift from Ridley Funeral Home, Johnny, and then I'm going to get you with the hard-hitting questions. But this is a measuring tape for you, courtesy of Ridley Funeral Home. They're at 14th and Lakeshore, and they don't want to see you anytime too soon. So
Nope.
I'm glad you're not smoking anymore.
No. That's quit that, quit drinking, quit everything now.
Oh, so you don't drink any alcohol?
Not anymore. And,
So, okay, well-
and everyone can thank me for that because apparently there wouldn't have been any left.
Well, you know what's in front of you right now? 4 cans of fresh craft beer.
I know. I remember when Great Lakes came up. I remember when that was not Great Lakes Brewery.
Okay, because they were originally at a different location in '87 when they launched Great Lakes, and then they moved to the location on Queen Elizabeth Boulevard,
Yep.
which is down the street from the Costco.
That was probably the first craft brewery I ever saw.
They were early.
Oh, yeah.
So I actually know a little of the history here because I produce a show for Great Lakes called Between Two Fermenters, and I believe the first craft brewers in this province, it's a guy named Jim Brickman.
Brick Brewer out of Hamilton.
I think they're out of Waterloo.
Oh, it could be. I always
think
thought
so.
it was Hamilton, but
Okay.
still, doesn't matter.
I got to check my history. But Jim Brickman, was in this basement for an episode of Between Two Fermenters, and it sounds
Wow.
like that comes first. But Great Lakes were early, like '87 was early for craft brewery. They called them microbreweries back then.
Yeah. But it's like when I quit drinking, the Sleeman was still a craft brewery, right? So you had Sleeman, Brick would just got bought, I think.
Yeah,
I'm no historian.
maybe. Okay.
And then there might have been 3 craft brewers when I quit drinking.
Okay. Well, I don't know who you're going to gift that beer to, but you're not allowed to drink it yourself.
Oh, I have people.
So thank you to Great Lakes for sending over that beer.
That's great.
But in my intro, Johnny, I said you're from the award-winning Johnny Max band. So I must ask you right now, what award are we talking about there?
Well, we won. I mean, it's a misnomer. You use that in all the bios and stuff, but it's we won a Mississauga Arts Council award. Okay. We have won an international songwriting competition award with the wonderful Jesse O'Brien as a co-writer from a song called "Daddy's Little Girl," and then we've been up for 2 Junos. Oh, look at you!
I was waiting for you to say the magic words.
Wow.
Daddy's Little Girl. I recognize that voice.
Wow,
Johnny.
You're good. Talk about being on the spot right there.
Well, talk about Daddy's Little Girl. Like, give me the deep dive into this jam, man. I'm bopping to this bluesy sweetie here.
That was from the album Long Road, which was our second Juno nomination. So that was a song I sat in with Jesse O'Brien, who plays with everybody out of Hamilton. I'm trying to think of who it
Junk
is.
House. I'm going to name Hamilton bands.
Tom Wilson.
Tom Wilson.
Yeah, so he plays with Tom Wilson.
I nailed it the first go.
I wasn't sure the last name because he goes by his indigenous name now as well, right? So
right, I think he still goes by Tom Wilson as well. So,
but so Jesse's a big shot in the Hamilton scene and the Canadian scene as well, and we just wrote that song. It's just a joke song about a gold digger. The joke I use introducing the song is, and this is true, a buddy of mine who was an investor in the album said, I love that song. I want to use it for my daughter's 21st birthday. We're going to do a big show. And I said, it's not really a song for a 21st birthday. It's a song about a gold digger. And he said, well, that sounds about right.
Perfect, he said. Okay.
A father's love, you know?
So, what was the first Juno nom for?
That was for our album, A Lesson I've Learned. And, that was a nice little thing, getting a Juno nomination, flying out to Calgary and watching the Junos and sitting beside Randy Bachman and Johnny Reed.
These are big names.
They are.
One of them's been on this program, except he told me off the top it's Bachman.
Oh, well.
I know, we've all been saying Bachman
I'm
forever.
from Scotland. It's always Bachman.
It's Bachman. Okay, Johnny, that's amazing. So no wins yet, but it's not too late.
No,
right?
that's okay.
Now that you've quit the darts, there's lots of time for you to get.
Oh,
to
yeah. I'm going back to being a boy band now. So.
You know what? That's where the money is, I think. Boy bands.
Yeah, I think there should be a seniors boy band. You know.
Formerly boy band, whatever. Now it's the geriatric band.
An old boys band.
Let me hear a bit of this on the way out. Hold on.
I've been working 2 jobs. I got extra stuff on a weekend, you know. Girl, I brought you a brand new $1,500 dress and you only worn it once. And I was working. I don't get to see nothing. You're working me to the bone, sister. I need a shovel to get out of here. I'll tell you now. I need a nickel or a dime. Give me a roll of quarters or something. And the bank, they don't take pennies no more. I got thousands of them. You know how much money that could be? I'm prepared to pay you.
I'm taking notes here, Johnny. Some of those lines I'm going to use at the El Macombo on May 21st here, okay? You got a shovel digging out. Okay, so digging Daddy's little girl here. I got to shout out somebody, though. Blair Packham.
Blair's a great guy. I love Blair. Blair, actually, he's the guy who told me about you.
Well, Blair's the guy who told me about you.
Oh, well, so we're both blaming Blair then.
So if this goes south, it's Blair's fault. Well, so actually, furthermore, so Blair said, hey, you got to talk to this Johnny Max guy. He's great. I said, okay, I like great people. Let me talk to Johnny Max. And we scheduled your Toronto Mike debut. I wasn't sure if I was going to bring this up, but I feel I will, just to tell you how Blair plays a role. But what happened? Like, you were in the calendar to visit at a certain date, at a certain time. We both agreed. I'm prepped. I've got my Daddy's little girl loaded up. I got more audio loaded up. I got my notes. I'm now ready to record of Johnny Max. And what happened?
Johnny Max has 12 concussions, and I have a really, really terrible memory, even when stuff is in the calendar. And I noticed it about 2 hours after we set up the time.
Right.
And that's when I phoned you.
Right.
And then about 2 hours later, Blair phoned me, texted me, and said, what the hell's going on?
Oh, yeah, because I said to Blair, I said, your Johnny Max ghosted me.
I feel so bad. You're not the first one it's happened to.
Okay, I didn't know about the 12 concussions. I feel like I've been overly harsh. I need to be more considerate. But I'm sorry about those concussions. How did you get these concussions?
A bunch from hockey, a bunch from soccer, a couple having a bad attitude at work.
Okay, you got knocked out at work?
Yeah, pretty much. By a door that I was mad at.
Oh.
Inanimate objects.
Okay. I thought maybe these were ballroom brawls.
No.
I
am too much of a scaredy cat. I'm a big mouth, but I don't fight very well.
Yeah, just like me.
Yeah.
I got a mouth on me. I'm going to go at you. I don't care how big you are, but then when you start throwing punches, I'm going to jump on my bike and get out of here.
Yeah, well, I ended up, I stuck my face in front of a number of fists a number of times. As my father used to say, you don't have to lead with your face.
That explains the concussions.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so now I forgive you. I did I think I wrote a snarky comment to Blair. Like,
that's okay.
He was so excited to come on. He went and did some shopping or something. And then Blair, like weeks later, Blair's like, why don't you give Johnny Max another shot? Or maybe you wrote me? Oh, you wrote me. Okay.
I wrote you.
I'm giving Blair too much credit.
I was so apologetic because I know what happens and I know what the prep work is like from my radio days, right? And I felt so bad.
Okay, we got to get back to those radio days. But I will say happy birthday to Blair. I was at his birthday party on Saturday night in East York. And I got to say, the crew that I had a great time. Like, there were, John Douglas Cameron Is it Cameron Douglas? No, yeah. The guy who wrote Mona with the Children. Do you remember this song?
I know the song.
Mona with her children. What a beautiful song. He was there, but he's been down here before with Banjo Dunk. But I saw Chris Tate from Chalk Circle.
Yep.
I love Chalk Circle. Love Chris Tate. He's been down here. Laurie Cullen. Do you know this name?
Yep.
Married to Kurt Swinghammer. She's got a great voice. We had the best chat. Hello to Lori, who's probably not listening, but she's been doing a lot of gardening. I feel like this is a good show to listen to while you garden or away there. And I don't want to miss any FOTMs. Chris Finn, who's a good friend of Blair Packham's, of course, Blair himself, but also, do you know the name Andy Stochansky?
No, I do not.
So Andy's a great singer-songwriter in his own right, and I got quality time with him. So I'm here to say I had a great time at Blair's house, but then what I did, because he called me out on it the next day via text, but I was there like 2.5 hours.
Yep.
So, and now it's a very busy happening home in East York.
It is.
And I'm in like the living room chatting up a few people, including Laurie Cullen. And I make a decision that I'm biking home, I should point out. And I'm in East York, I'm biking here. So I know it's an hour, 10 minutes to get home. So I made a decision like at 9:45. I said, okay, let me get home for 11 o'clock. And I didn't go and kiss and hug and say goodbye to everybody. I did what I call the Irish goodbye.
The Irish goodbye.
Okay. So I just sort of disappear into the night, and then I go get my bike, which was in the backyard, and I start, I basically took it's Danforth Bloor bike lane all the way to Royal York, and then I busted south. But I'm giving you all the details of my ride home, but it was a great ride home, but I didn't say goodbye. And then the next day he's like, whatever. But I think that's the move with a busy birthday party like that. I spent 2.5 hours. I had a great time. I brought him some Great Lakes beer. But what do you think of the Irish goodbye?
I think the Irish goodbye is great because the goodbyes last. And look, I'm from Scotland, so the longest time anyone spent at a party when I was growing up was the goodbyes. I'll see you later. Oh, don't keep your hand in your pocket. Hey, don't you embarrass me by giving me money. No, I have to throw us. It was 20 minutes every person.
Right.
I've been at Blair's parties, and they're really good. The diverse people. I was going to go last night, except they shut down the Gardener.
Saturday night. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, the party was Saturday night. Right.
So they shut down the Gardener, so there's I wasn't doing it. I live in St. Catharines, so.
Well, that's a long bike ride.
Yeah.
If you had gone, though, it would have been like we would have met before today,
Yes.
and it would have taken away the
edge.
The edge. I'll say this about Laurie Cullen. Last word is that was the third time I'd ever met her. I met her at another Blair birthday party a couple of years ago, and then she came down here for a episode of Toronto Mic'd, which was great. And then I saw her Saturday night. But honestly, it feels with Laurie Cullen. I don't know if there's some people like that. It feels like we've known each other for 30 years.
I love those people.
That was the third time I met her.
I love those people.
But it's instant. But then I remember the first time I met her, and it felt like that. So I don't know. I think she just likes to grind my gears, and I sort of dig it.
Those are all my best friends. That's
how it works.
As an adult, you either hit it off or you become an acquaintance. That's how I look at it.
Are you really a Johnny Max? That can't. You might be a Johnny, but you ain't a Johnny Max, right?
I am Johnny Max because when I came over here from Scotland, teachers, could pronounce my last name, which is McEnany, and it's not phonetic. So it's an Irish name, raised in Scotland.
Okay.
And it was always McKinney. So it just became, from my best friend's mother, I just became Johnny Max when I was 5.
Okay, so so it's not just an invented thing.
Nope.
There's an origin story there. Okay, I was going to make you show me your driver's license to confirm if you're a Johnny Max or not, because that name's kind of perfect here.
It's not bad. It's
Take
a nice
me back.
stage
So
name.
let's go back, learn some Johnny Max, and I got some more music later. But what made you, Johnny Max, fall in love with music?
Ooh, that's
a big one.
That is a big one. I'll tell you this. The short end is I grew up in a household with Irish music and jazz music, like traditional Irish music and jazz music. Not a lot of pop music, but I became a pop guy. And oddly enough, my first album that I ever bought with my money was a Sonny Terry Brownie McGee album from a Becker store because I liked the sepia cover, right? And I mean, I like blues, but I grew up with 1050 Chum and Chum FM and Q107 when it came on the air.
Sure.
So
77 for Q.
Oh, was it 77? Okay.
Yeah.
It was it was so completely different, man. But I used to go to City Hall with CFTR and 1050 Chum concerts and stuff like that. But I was just a song lover, music lover like we all were, and became a record collector. And I didn't get into music till I was 35.
Wow, that's
in
late.
A band. Oh, yeah. Yep.
Okay, by the way, record collector, there's an episode for you recorded last Wednesday. Alan Zweig, you know this name?
Yes.
So he made the documentary Vinyl. He made it about 25 years ago.
Is that the
26
Toronto
years ago.
one?
Yeah, yes, it's a Toronto. Yeah, he's a Toronto guy, Alan Zweig, and this is a documentary about vinyl collectors. And he was over here on Wednesday to play 10 of his favorite songs from his personal vinyl collection. And I'm telling you, if you want to hear from a vinyl collector, I thought it was fascinating. Like, I highly recommend for your drive back west. Maybe you tune into some Alan Zweig on Toronto.
Okay. Yeah, no, if it's the same documentary, it was based around this area. There was 3 or 4 guys. You had, was it Peter Dunn's, the Vinyl Museum across the road?
Well, I know that's...
That
but this doc is about more like talking to people about why they collect and how they collect and just sort of the characters. But it aired a lot on TV Ontario. That's when I used to see it, and it's pretty cool. He's got a screening at the Review Cinema. People can, and there's a Q&A afterwards with Zweig. So
it's the record collecting I did. There was guys who were right into it. Mine was all garage sales, and it was getting albums. I think a lot of it was like, I loved music. I loved listening to albums, and I think it was just like I collected comics as well. It was just quantity. So I got a lot. Like, I still have 3,500 albums, but they're not all perfect grades sort of thing. You know,
that's a lot of albums, though. But at your peak, what was the most? Do you think at your peak, the most number of?
About 4,800.
Wow! And what kind of storage space does that occupy?
IKEA shelvings. So it takes up now about half of my basement. But I also have 5,000 CDs too, right? So.
Oh my goodness. Okay, this is. I mean, I never had anything close to that in the I had a lot of CDs myself, but in the early 2000s, I decided my job right now is to digitize this collection. Nowadays, it's sitting on a hard drive somewhere, but like, this world is such a streaming world. Like, now it's like, I got a YouTube premium account, and that's how I'm listening to most of my music. But I do miss the day. I like the idea of tangible media for my collection of music.
My youngest son is into it now, so he's got his albums.
Okay.
So same sort of thing. So
more than just the blues.
Oh yeah, it's everything, man. Everything. Like from Irish traditional bands like Planxty and the Dubliners to the Sex Pistols and the Clash to Susie and the Banshees, all the way through to Sam Cooke, Solomon Burke, all the blues guys, Sinatra, Dean Martin, all that.
Do you think the Sex Pistols are the greatest one and done band of all time?
I've never had that question. Pretty much, because they weren't really talented. They just hit a movement. You know, and that movement changed really quickly. So like it wasn't around for a long time, because then that new it went from punk to new wave, right? Because
like Talking Heads and
yeah. So I mean,
Blondie and all that.
It begat a lot of other great bands that would not have had any chance, because record companies were not going to change, I don't think.
But it's hard to find examples of bands that put out one album that is that acclaimed and that beloved, and there is no follow up.
No, it is amazing. I never thought of it that way. I did. When my oldest son came in with a Green Day album, go, Dad, this is punk. Come downstairs.
Pop punk.
Yeah. I put the Sex Pistols on and go, that's punk.
That's punk, son. Wow, yeah. Maybe the pop punk, because there was that definitely that movement for sure. Dookie's still one of my favorite albums of all time, though. Maybe I was the right age for Dookie. I was like 19 years old. I'm listening to Dookie from Green Day, and it's like, wow, still love that album. Actually,
yeah, I think I'd lost interest in the new music, the pop end of it, by that time. You know, it's my theory is this. It's why you have lots of tribute bands out there. At about the age of 30, you've listened to everything new you want to listen to. And the tribute bands come out and you go, oh, it's nostalgia. I want to hear that again.
Oh, you're making a good point. Just last summer, I went to see a Pearl Jam tribute band called Pearl Jamming, they're called. And I saw a Tragically Hip tribute band. Took my kid to see them because I can't take him to see the Tragically Hip. And yeah, there's something about this, the tribute bands, where you can kind of like close your eyes and just sort of like, you know, pretend you're seeing the real band.
The good ones.
The good one, yeah. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of schlop out there. Like anything else, you got to wade through some schlop.
Oh, yeah.
But okay, you said you're 35 years old when you become a musician.
Yep.
Like, so what sparked that?
I'll tell you that story.
I need it.
I was a really bad wedding DJ in that I was doing weddings and I wouldn't play Celine Dion or Madonna. So
Well, you can't be a wedding DJ without Celine Dion.
I know. That's why I was a bad wedding DJ.
Well, you had standards.
Yeah. So it was just the way it was. But what had happened was, one of the bars I drank in after work, they had karaoke there. I did a karaoke thing one night for a guy or for the owner, and she came up and said, "Can you do that again?" I said, "Okay, I can do that." And sang another song, and I ran around the bar and made everybody laugh and made people, in essence, buy more drinks and stay there. And that became a regular occurrence. And one of those nights, my original guitar player's guitar student heard it, and he was looking for a singer, and he went over to, I was Kevin Higgins, was a guitar player, and went over to Kevin and said, "I know this guy, and I saw him at karaoke, and you're looking for a singer, and he's perfect." And I did a 2-song audition, and he went, "We have a gig in 2 weeks here to learn these 25 songs."
Well, when I listened to your, award-winning song, "Daddy's Little Girl," like I'm listening to, I'm like, yeah, like this guy gets the blues. This guy's got the pipes.
No. The first band was straight ahead blues. It was all Howlin' Wolf and Solomon Burke and Muddy Waters, and we'd try and pick songs that were less obvious, obviously, and then we'd mix in some Nadine and Chuck Berry and Sam Cooke and all sorts of stuff like that. And we quickly became like a well-known band in the Toronto bar scene.
What was the name of this band?
It was the Johnny Max Band.
Of course. So you were always the Johnny Max Band for decades.
Yeah. So I ended up taking over this band, and we couldn't figure out a name. And I suggested, let's just call it the Johnny Max Band until we figure out a name. And nobody bothered figuring out a name. So,
which at least you're the singer, right? Like there are bands out there named after like a different member of the band. I always find that interesting. Like, and I'm like not just like. Van Halen, obviously.
That was Jay Giles.
Jay Giles, a good example. What, he keyboardist? What was Jay Giles?
Was he the guitar?
And the Manfred Mann Band. He
Manfred
wasn't.
Mann, yeah. He was a keyboard player.
But even Van Halen, right? Like Van Halen, okay, the guitar is named after the guitarist, not, it's not, David Lee Roth or whoever's the OG there. Good. Who's your favorite singer of Van Halen?
Oh, I take Sammy any day.
So you're a Sammy guy.
Oh, yeah. David Lee Roth was great, but I mean, to me, so my cousins brought me onto Van Halen down in Chatham when they came out, and their biggest thing was look at how high he can kick. Who cares,
right?
But Sammy, and I never really knew Sammy before he joined Van Halen, but man, the songs were so much better, I thought.
Okay, interesting. And I've heard that from other musicians too. But for me, it was like, it's got to be David Lee Roth because that's the guy from the big albums I liked as a kid.
Yeah.
So it's almost like your first exposure is what you love. You don't want that to change.
Well, there's no right or wrong, right? I got told by a friend of mine years ago, people are talking about this guy's better than that guy. He goes, it's art. Nobody's better.
Right. Different, not better. And you can have preferences, but you're right. Nobody, you can't better. So does anybody ever answer the Van Halen question and say Gary Cerrone from from Extreme?
Not that I forgot he was there for about a week and a half, wasn't he?
At least one album, though.
Yeah.
At least one album. So if anybody answers that, then you just call the mental health line. You just say, "Hi, we have a pickup. There's a mop up in aisle 3." Okay,
that's funny.
So the Johnny Max Band is a going concern here. So over 30 years, I guess.
Yep. With about 6 or 7 completely different lineups, because apparently I'm a prick when the albums come out.
Is that, so can you elaborate? Like,
well, bands split up, right? So the first band went for about 11 years, and it was just I wanted to go to festivals and theaters and stuff like that, and the other guys really didn't want to travel, so we imploded the band. I started up another one. We did another album. We got some notoriety. That lasted about 5 or 6 years, and that imploded again because in the Toronto scene, at a certain level, you either want to travel and you have a job that can allow you to travel, or you can't. And Cleve Anderson's a perfect example of that.
Love Cleve. He's been over here.
Cleve's a great guy. And I
the Battered Wives.
Yeah. But it's there's a commitment that's got to be made, right? And do you want to do original music or do you want to do covers? And, it's not always a great fit. The guys I have now, I've been together with most of them for 5 or 6 years now as well. So
they still like you?
They say it. They say they like me.
Tough to have the. Is there any example? Here's a question. I know you're not here as a musical historian, okay? But off the lid here, like, are there any bands named after a member, and that's the person who's kicked out of the band?
Jay Giles.
Okay, well, tell me. Maybe I only remember Centerfold and all this, but I don't know if I know the history of Jay Giles. So Jay Giles was kicked out?
I didn't know about that. Oh, sorry. Jay Giles band imploded because they had the hit, right?
My Angel is a Centerfold?
I think so. Before that, they were like, they were a straight ahead, dirty old blues band that had a great reputation. In fact, I saw Peter Wolf, their singer, open up for Tom Petty the last time he was in Toronto, and he blew me. He is what Mick Jagger should have been. Like, he was
Mick never did make it, did he?
Yeah, I know. But Mick,
he played the Elmo too.
Yeah. But Peter Wolf just blew me away for an opener, and I didn't know the history of Jay Giles before that. But all the guys I hung out with, they all love Jay Giles.
Okay, fascinating. I just was thinking, like, it's kind of funny, like, if you kick Eddie Van Halen out of Van Halen, he's like, wait a minute, this is my band. You can't kick me out of my band or whatever. But or John Bon Jovi getting, I know he owns that band. It's a whole day. So that's the move, right? Bon Jovi did this move where he's Bon Jovi, the band.
Yeah.
And he hires musicians to play with him.
I don't think that's the way it was at the start.
It became that at some, I don't know how it started.
At some point, yeah.
At some point. So, but it is interesting to think, so, I don't know, Richie Sambora or whatever, they're just like employees of Bon Jovi Inc.
Well, the Eagles are like that now. The Eagles were Glenn Frey and Don Henley because, they bought out,
okay.
But they started as a conglomerate of 5 guys who owned the band.
But sort of soulless way to go, right, brother? Because, like, I'm just going to pick on a band I already mentioned, but Pearl Jam, for example, right? This is, although they keep changing the drummer, but the other 4 guys are OGs, like day one guys, and they have an equal partnership in Pearl Jam.
Are you sure about that?
I think so.
Okay.
I believe that is, and again, prove me wrong, everybody, but I believe it's equal Pearl Jam. I don't think it's Eddie Vedder's band with these guys. I think, I don't know, again, they're drummerless as far as I know.
But then look at when Wings went out with McCartney, right? He paid everybody and said, this is what we're going to do.
Right, and that's why you get the lineup changes.
Yeah.
I just saw that doc.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, Man on the Run.
Yep.
Have you seen the Art Gallery of Ontario exhibit?
No, I want to go see it, though. Okay. I mean, I love McCartney. I love Len. I mean, I'm a Beatles guy. I grew up with the Beatles, and it was just everything Beatles is good for me.
Well, then I'm recommending another recent episode with Deirdre Kelly. He wrote at the Globe and Mail for 30 years, and she wrote a book about the Beatles and their influence over style. And she has a role at this art gallery of all the photographs that Paul McCartney took for a few, I guess the first trip to America, the Ed Sullivan Show thing. Yeah. He had like a camera with him for the first couple of years, and he snapped like 1,000 photos, and makes for a great exhibit. Yeah,
he was. I think he was passed by in the thought process of who was the avant-garde guy at some point with the Beatles, and everybody thought it was Lennon, and I think it was both of them. I think McCartney had a hand in a lot of that as well. So
I think you're right. Now we're gonna get into more Johnny Mac's band stuff, and you mentioned radio. I got to ask you about that radio, but I know you're not going to drink the beer I gave you, but somebody you know and love is going to enjoy the fresh craft beer. But have you quit Italian food?
No, I have not. Who in their right mind would quit Italian food?
Once in a while, I have a guest, like I'm thinking Biff Naked, okay? Do you know Biff Naked?
Yeah, I know of Biff Naked.
So I'll have Biff over, and I'll realize, okay, she's what's called...
She's vegan, isn't she?
Yeah, there's a word for her. I can't believe I'm forgetting the word. Straight something. There's a term for her, which I'll have to Google in a minute. But basically it means like no drugs, no alcohol, no smoking. But she's vegan, yes. So that means, but she's not even consuming like cheese, okay?
Yeah.
So I can get you a vegetarian lasagna. But I can't get you a lasagna from Palma Pasta with no cheese.
That sort of sounds like my mother. My mother was vegetarian for a long time before she passed away. But
straight edge.
Yeah, but she's Scottish, so vegetarian means something different. So my mother would say something like, I'm a vegetarian. I love it, but I do love my chicken. And every now and then I'll have a bit of fish. Right? So then you're not a vegetarian.
Right. By the way, the name is Straight Edge.
Straight Edge, okay.
Okay, so you're not straight edge, which means you can consume my lasagna.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm digging into that, buddy.
It's in my freezer, so that's empty. Don't bring the box. But I'm going to get it to you from the freezer. So thank you to Palma Pasta, though. I had a good chat with Anthony Paciucci. He was telling me how much he enjoyed the Warren Kinsella Toronto Mike debut. That
Oh,
recorded
wow.
Last week. Yeah, he was down here last week, and it was really interesting because he's an OG Western Canadian punker. So you talked about, we talked about Sex Pistols.
Yep.
And then we talked about the Battered Wives, one of the great names for a Toronto punk band. But out west, one of the very first punk bands was, and I'm forgetting the name off the top of my head, but it is Warren Kinsella's band.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
I know. Like, a lot of people don't realize his punk pedigree, that he was there. He only quit punk and became like a lawyer journalist guy because the racists moved in. So at some point, the punk movement, the skinheads, but skinhead with the ideology of like basically like the Nazi ideology was seeping in, and he wanted nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
So that's when he left punk
But
music.
that was the odd thing about the skinheads in Britain, to a certain extent, was they belonged with the ska movement as well, because that was a punkish sort of movement until everything else sort of changed.
But it is interesting because the ska movement comes from from Jamaicans moving to England.
Yeah.
Right, and the reggae influence, and this white nationalism that was tied to the skinheads in England at that time. You wouldn't think they'd want anything to do with Jamaicans.
But they were different types of. I mean, they were both skinheads, but one part of it were punk, and the nationalists were a completely different thing because their music went completely the other way as well.
Right. But what interesting how it all kind of, there's a bit of a stew there.
It's that rebel thing, right? It's what rock and roll was at the start, and then that's what made punk so appealing to everybody was the time in Britain, the miners' strike and everything else, and Thatcher, and it's just people fighting back and not to defend ultranationalists, but they have the same idea. They'd go about it completely wrong.
But how do you rectify the fact, like, just in your mind that punk is so like do it yourself, right? Safety pins. It's just this whole ethos, right? But Sex Pistols are like a guy has a fashion store, and Vivienne Westwood and the sex store, and he just sort of like, you guys, I like your look, and I want to create a band out of you. Like, it's so opposite of punk, and that it's so manufactured.
It was
Sex
the
Pistols.
Monkees.
Yeah.
It was exactly.
But how do you like?
Yeah.
How do you justify that when it's supposed to be like organic? We met at this concert. We couldn't play instruments, but we were shitty together, and we played, and we got better. And this is like,
I think the odd thing was that it created a movement where you had great bands after that. Like Paul Weller came out of that. The Clash came out of that. Talking Heads came out of that. Ramones, everything. I mean, punk was essentially the Ramones, and it got transferred over.
Right.
But that's the odd thing, is that like the Monkees, which were manufactured, didn't change or create a new type of music. It just made more money for the corporations.
Right. Wow. But the Monkees, were absolutely the Beatles.
Yep. They were exactly the same thing as the Sex Pistols. But the Sex Pistols created something completely different, I think, by mistake.
Fascinating time. And then we talked about One and Done, but how many great bands came out of the Sex Pistols, like, and being influenced by that album and seeing that band live.
Yeah. No, I mean,
unbelievable.
I have a buddy of mine's from Dublin. Neville Bean is his name, and great guy. Played soccer with him over here, and he was into that punk scene and knew every band coming out of Northern Ireland and Dublin and UK, like from Feargal Sharkey and the Undertones and all that stuff. That was his thing, right? So it was amazing.
Amazing time. Okay, so that's a punk talk here, but back to the so my question about the blues, and I do want to talk about your radio career, and I have some interesting musical elements for you. But does Canada, Johnny, this is my big question, does Canada get the blues?
Sure does. So Canada has, I will say off the cuff, approximately 400 blues festivals across the country. So blues is, it might be a gateway to get into live music. I do think that the music theater is changing because of rap and hip hop or whatever is being called and the corporate end of music. But there's definitely a blues and roots thing going on in Canada, has been for 40 years that I know. I mean, Toronto was a blues center at one point, as Montreal was a jazz center, right? As Toronto was as well. But the the blues thing with the guys like Dutch Mason down east, you had Downchild here, you had Powder Blues out west, guys like David Gogo and that come across, and 400 blues festivals. There's probably another 300 jazz festivals. There's at least another 300 roots and Americana festivals in Canada. So people are looking for live music. I just don't think they know where to go, because we've lost, regionally anyway, we've lost newspapers where you could go open up the back 2 pages and find out what was going on that weekend and the next weekend.
Yeah,
and
like you're talking about like Now and
all that, the Star, the Sunday,
iWeekly.
all had it,
Sure.
right? So, and it's the same nationwide. Where do you go to find out what's going on? Because everybody's doing their own promotion now, right?
So where do you go?
Well, in Toronto, you can go to Toronto Blues Society because they put up a schedule of what's going on that week. I don't know if enough people know about it, and I think people stick to their favorite bars or their favorite venues or their favorite bands and look for them on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever.
So how many gigs a year will the Johnny Max Band play?
Well, this year, without finalizing summer, I think the amount of shows I have, now they're different shows. I had 42 to 50. I'll play between 50 and 60 a year. And that's with the John Prine show I have. I'm in the Last Wall show, Johnny Max Band, Johnny Max double bills, and my Christmas bluesy show. So, so we're pretty busy. And then, like for the Johnny Max Band, I just look to go to Europe, and we go to Europe almost every year. This year's a bit of a change, but it's just, I find people appreciate the music more in Europe.
Why is that?
I will be very facetious because there's 2 places in the world that don't consider music culture, and that's Canada and the U.S. Everywhere else, music is culture, art is culture, and governments jump in on that, and we don't have that support. And I think it's all corporate, and I think music is treated as a hobby by most people who aren't in the music business.
So you mentioned those 2 countries. Is it possible that one of those countries is such a pop culture juggernaut that we're just too influenced by them?
Oh, absolutely. As is Scotland and Ireland with Britain.
Right.
So it's the same. It's proximity does that. However, there are major blues festivals all through the U.S. You could go to the U.S. and just stay there and play and be fine. That's not the case in Canada. Our population doesn't cover it. The linear, the way our country is set up, straight across the border, it's hard. Like I just came back from Dublin in Poland. I can go to Dublin for $600. And I go MC the festival in Calgary, that's $800. Crazy, because we don't have the population, I don't think, and we don't have the wherewithal from the companies to allow us to travel.
It's funny you mentioned
cheaper.
that. My wife's family's in Edmonton, and every summer they go to Edmonton for a couple of weeks with my 2 youngest kids. And so I was asking, like, what dates are you going or whatever? Like, and she's still waiting to buy these tickets because of how much higher those tickets are than ever before. And she told me how much it would cost for the 3 of them to fly to Edmonton and back. And it's like, I'm going to have to start charging my clients more money because it's unbelievable. And that's going to Alberta.
Yeah, so the cheap way out, and people forget about it. If you're in Toronto, you want to go from Pearson, go to Hamilton or go to Kitchener.
Yeah.
And you'll save a couple hundred.
Save a bit there.
So, but it's so expensive. Like I'm trying to get out west for next year. Yeah. It's going to cost me thousands.
Jeez. Okay, you got a bike out west.
Yeah.
It won't cost you thousands. It'll just cost you time. Okay.
Yeah.
So I have more music for us. You ready?
Yep.
Dear Abby, my feet are too long. My hair is falling out, and my rights are all wrong. Well, my friends, they all tell me that I've no friends at all. Won't you write me a letter? Won't you give me a call? Sign, you sing it. Dear Abby. Close enough. Don't know how I did that now. I wonder where it's gone. Must have spent the way I went, waiting for the dawn. Shoot the moon right between the eyes. I'm screaming. Take me back to sunny Pictures, happy years, don't stop to count the years. Sweet songs never last too long. Broken radios.
I got a feeling that you have a heart like mine. So let it show, let it shine. If we have a chance to make one heart two, I just wanna dance with you.
All right, Johnny, tell the listenership, what are we sampling here? What are we listening to?
That is our John Prine tribute show called In Spite of Ourselves, an Evening of John Prine, with the absolute amazing baritone of Bill Craig, the aforementioned Mr. Blair Packham, and one of the finest voices in Canadian folk music, I think, Miss Kirsten Jones. And we've been doing that show for 3 years, and we're going out this year to do what would have been John's 80th birthday. So we have about 10 or 12 shows, 4 at the East Coast and another 6 or so in Southern Ontario, all through starting in August.
Well, that's amazing. But I heard you say Blair Packham's involved. So
Blair
is Blair
Packham.
playing any of these upcoming dates?
Oh, yeah, Blair plays in all of them, as does Kirsten and Bill Craig. So, oh, yeah, no, Blair's a huge part of this show because him and Bill are the only two guys who've seen John Prine. I never got to see John Prine. I had my chances, but I think I chose alcohol a couple times because he was at Ontario Place. But
Right.
and Bill Craig, who's an Irish singer of some note, and he turned me on to John Prine back in my drinking days when I was 17 or 18 at a pub in the west end of Toronto called the Old Sod,
I know it well.
which
Very
I
close
worked
to
at,
us.
my mother worked at, and 4 of my sisters worked at.
Well, we could walk there.
Yeah,
after
yeah.
this, okay, so I know the Old Sod well. Well, that's so you all work there. That's unbelievable here. So I feel John Prine, and this was true for me personally, but John Prine is an artist, I think, far more appreciated and respected in death than he was in life. What do you think?
Oh, I'm not so sure about that.
Okay.
I think he was one of those guys, much like Dylan, after all the hits, where you have no airplay and people just go after you. Steve Earle's one of those.
But Steve Earle did, like, I'm thinking like Copperhead Road, for
One hit.
example. Like, yes, one hit too, but Q107, because I was a big Q listener at the time, played the hell out of that song. So at least there you can point to the song. With John Prine, you'd have to look at a cover of Angel of Montgomery, for example, or whatever. But I can't think of a John Prine song that got high rotation on commercial radio.
None of them. But that's a beautiful. The band was the same. Like the band had no hits, right? And but everybody.
But even what about you mean the band? We're going to get to the band in a minute.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. But what about
Not a
Cripple
hit.
Creek?
Not
What
a
about
hit.
The Wait?
Not a hit.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize The Wait wasn't a hit
But
because I'm too young. I'm ignorant.
Well, Neil Young had what, 2 top 10 songs?
Well, he had a number 1.
Yeah.
Heart of Gold.
Yeah, and then nothing. So my joke about Canadian radio, of which I was part of, is if you listen to it, mainstream Canadian radio, not to go against them, I mean, it's all advertising. You would think Neil Young had 2 songs, the band had 1, the Guess Who had 1, and Randy Bachman had 4. You know.
Okay, well, I'm just processing all this, Johnny Max, because I mentioned I was a Q listener when Copperhead Road came on. Around the same era, that's when "Rockin' in the Free World" was played every other hour
man.
on
that
Q.
was MTV. That was all that did that.
and then they hooked up with Pearl Jam, and the rest is history.
Like MTV and Much Music, they were great for the older artists because you do live concert videos or the like, and they would get tons of rotation because the radio stopped playing them. I think.
Okay, well,
I'm slightly opinionated.
I feel like I hear you. No, I love hearing it. Again, we're going to get to your radio soon. But you mentioned the band. So actually, John Prine, people can see the John Prine. What's it called again? The John Prine tribute?
In Spite of Ourselves, an Evening of John Prine.
So not only do you get Johnny Max, but you get Blair Packham too. So, but you mentioned the band. So actually, let me play just a little bit.
Well, people ask me why we've done this, why we do these shows. And well, the first reason was that I was asked to do it for the Kitchener Blues Festival. And they wanted a special event, and I thought, well, why don't we do music from the Last Waltz? Well, when we did it, not only did the audience like it a lot, but we really liked playing this music. And then we realized again that, well, this is really a great part of our shared Canadian musical heritage. I mean, the music that these 4 Canadians and the 1 American that they made really touches home to us.
Okay, this is
The
you
Last
tell
Waltz.
us the Last Waltz, of course. We already name dropped Bob Dylan. We name dropped Neil Young. And I've seen the Last Waltz.
So
Scorsese.
this is The Last Waltz, a musical celebration, and we've been doing this, as Lance Anderson so eloquently put, for about 16 years now. It started with the Kitchener Blues Festival, and I was on that one, and that included Chris Whiteley and Diana Braithwaite. Paul James was in that. We've had guests such as Jimmy Boskill, the Weber brothers coming through. Fantastic Matt Weidinger's there, Keisha Wint, and Chuck Jackson from Downchild. So there's a rotation of lead singers along with Lance. The beauty of this show, outside the fact that I know people who've seen it 14 times, is the drummer is Jerome Levon Avis, and that is Levon Helm's godson.
Okay.
Because Jerome's dad was Levon's best friend, and that's Bill Avis, who was the road manager for the band, and Ronnie Hawkins and Dylan. So he comes on stage and tells at least one story, and it's fantastic.
Absolutely. Now, I'm still processing this whole no hits thing, because what about the night they drove Old Dixie down? Not a hit?
Probably with Joan Baez.
Okay, that's how we cover. Okay. See, because I just was raised, I grew up and you'd hear like Q107, for example. And you just assume they played a lot of The Wait, for example, or Cripple Creek.
Well, I mean, we all have those. I mean, I'm a big Genesis fan.
Yeah.
Genesis didn't hit till Trick of the Tail, and it was one song, right? So Gabriel never had hits. Not over here. But, when you go to long form FM, you get to play a lot. But the charts didn't mean as much then, I don't think.
But there were the Phil Collins
The Phil Collins era later.
They had a lot of
Yeah,
hits,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like I'm thinking, it's just the same, that's all.
Yeah. No,
I'm gonna sing to you
listen,
here. Yeah.
Genesis, I mean, I'm a fan of, Yes had a couple hits, but they had like 10 albums.
Right.
Fleetwood Mac had 5 albums before they even hit.
Oh yeah, before Rumors.
Yeah, way before.
Yeah.
You tell that to people, and you talk about Jeremy Spencer and Peter Green, and they're going, what are you talking about?
Okay, and you mentioned Jimmy Boskill, and that gives me a chance to say later this week that, because he's now playing at Blue Rodeo.
Yeah.
And later this week, Colin Cripps will be in this very TMDS basement studio to kick out the jams with me. So that's going to be the return of Colin Cripps. He's also at Blue Rodeo now.
You have like the creme de la creme.
Well, I got Johnny Max.
Yeah, man. Listen, I wouldn't even go see him.
Listen, the blues. One of my favorite bands of all time, the Tragically Hip.
Yeah.
In springtime in Vienna, Gord sings that the blues are still required. So there you go. Okay. You mentioned Chuck Jackson, okay? So they've hung up their microphones.
Yes.
No more Downchild Blues Band. Okay. No. Chuck, did you know Chuck Jackson's brother?
Mike Bullard.
Mike Bullard.
Yeah, and Sean Bullard, who's a writer in Hollywood.
Oh, it's Pat Bullard.
Pat Bullard, sorry, yeah.
But all these Irish names sound the same, right? Okay, so there's Chuck Jackson, Mike Bullard's, they share one parent at least, they're siblings, which I think the late Mike Bullard, okay.
But when if you didn't know that, once you're told that, you can see it in their faces and go, oh, yeah.
Okay, wow. So Downchild, how many times did they play open mic with Mike Bullard? Did they get...
They played a couple. Bullard was great with that, with the Toronto scene, with Paul Reddick played and... bunch of other guys in the Toronto scene. He was fantastic for that. As were guys like Bob McAdory when he had an afternoon show. All the Toronto guys. City TV had Toronto bands come in, no matter what the genre was.
Can I blow your mind here of tying things together, which is what we do in Toronto Mike? So you just said Bob McAdory.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I grew up seeing on global television in the entertainment, right? So, but Bob McAdory's niece is Michelle McAdory, who was in Crash Vegas with Colin Cripps.
Really? Wow. Ooh.
I'm telling you, brother. I'm telling you, it's all coming. And speaking of Blue Rodeo, Greg Keeler started in that band before they booted him because he had some side project called Blue Rodeo that was distracting him. And at the time, Greg Keeler was in a relationship with Michelle McAdory. And if you remember the popular video for Try,
Yeah.
if you can think of Watching Much Music and Try by Blue Rodeo's playing, the pretty gal in that video is the aforementioned Michelle McAdory.
Wow.
niece
This
of Bob
is becoming
McAdory.
serendipitous with Toronto Mike.
Blowing my mind right now. Okay, so let's talk about you and radio here. Okay, so obviously the award-winning Johnny Max band, which you lead, you're touring all the time. So what website can somebody go to if they say, I got to check out the Johnny Max band?
JohnnyMaxBand.com. They make it
Okay.
easy for guys like me.
And you do have new music, right? Because
I know
well,
we just
fairly
came out with
new.
a brand new album, which, by the way, I will say on the air, a little mea culpa I forgot to bring to you.
How dare you?
I know. But I know where you live now. I can drop it off.
That's right.
The brand new album is number 2 or 3 on the blues, roots, and radio charts in Canada. It's called Johnny Max and the So-Called Friends, and has a big Toronto connection to that as well, with guys like Neil Chapman from the Pucka Orchestra playing on it. You know,
Yeah, Pucka Orchestra. Okay, they did Cherry Beach Express, right?
they did Cherry Beach Express. They did
What a song.
Might as well be on Mars, which is the one we cover.
Okay.
And Spirit, was it Spirit of the Radio or Play It on the Radio? Yeah.
On the radio, it was a cover though. But yeah, that was a big song on CFNY.
Yep.
But that was a cover. I remember thinking that was a Pucka
Oh, was
Orchestra.
it?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was a cover. I can dig up the original artist, but always liked that song when I'd hear it on CFNY.
Yeah, I found I was outside might have been the Mod Club for a benefit, and Neil Chapman, who's become a friend of mine, I was talking to him and we were talking about music, and I said, you know what I want? This is 15 years ago or so. I said, I really want to do a Puck Orchestra song. He goes, oh, really? Which one? I said, might as well be on Mars. He goes, that's my song. Shut up. Yeah, so we have him playing the big rock ending solo on it.
Oh, amazing. I'm here to tell you the original artist, and the song's called Listen to the Radio.
Listen to the Radio.
Listen to the
Yeah.
Radio. It's a guy named, oh crap, I just had it. Give me a second. No, I just had it. I just had this. Robinson. So, Robinson. What's Robinson's first name?
Not Tom Robinson.
It's Tom Robinson.
Really?
Yes. So, Listen to the Radio is a Tom Robinson song
Wow.
covered by Pucka Orchestra. And then, like I said, one of the big Pucka Orchestra, probably their biggest radio hit.
I think so.
I think so too, because even though was Michael Barclay was introducing me to the Cherry Beach Express because it's such an important song.
It's a great song.
And it's such a great song. Yeah.
Yeah. That Toronto had a lot of really good new wave stuff coming out at that time, I thought. And again, big thanks to Much Music, because without the Much Music in the videos, I don't think the Qs and the Chum FMs would have played it. You know.
I think you're right. Yeah, so always a big shout out to them. And we got a shout out now, not Toronto, but Burlington, which is close enough, right?
Yeah.
The Spoons. Because,
Yes.
Nova Heart and Romantic Traffic.
Traffic.
So many
love,
great songs.
I love that groove in Romantic Traffic. Absolutely love it.
So last mind blow before we talk radio. I mentioned I'm at the El Macombo on May 21st, and I have on stage with me a keyboardist named Rob Pruce, co-writer of Romantic Traffic.
Mm-hmm. He was, wasn't he like 14 or 15 in that band?
Yeah, 15 when he made his...
Wow.
In fact, the first appearance with the Spoons was at The Edge,
Oh, yeah.
Gary's presentation, the night John Lennon was killed.
Ooh, I was watching Monday Night Football with my dad, and my dad, being the lovely Scotsman that he was, with, who the hell's that?
Oh my goodness. Okay.
My dad did not
Talk
like,
to your son more
my
often.
dad did not like rock and roll at all. He's a big jazz guy.
And I guess we can, in that night also on Chum FM, I played footage. Ingrid Schumacher was on the air.
Oh, wow.
And she came over, and of course she was married to Cleve Anderson.
Oh, really?
She was married to Cleve when Cleve quit Blue Rodeo.
So Cleve played for me through Kevin Higgins, my original guitar player, at the Markland pub, like a Saturday afternoon showcase. And Cleve, I was talking about hockey, and he goes, oh, I played in Humber Valley. He played for the guy, the same coach that I played for, and whom I ended up coaching with and taking over his clinic, and whom my second son is named after.
Wow.
That was completely just...
Yeah, there's a lot of this going on. It's a small world after all.
It really is, but I wouldn't want to paint it.
That's right. Here. So then since we're going to close, I want to talk radio and then do a little wrap up here. But I want to make sure I've shouted out Nick Ienes, because just on Friday, we recorded a new episode of Building Toronto Skyline and a new episode of Mike and Nick, and they're both available wherever you got this podcast, okay? So shout out to Nick Ainis, a proud sponsor of the program, and I want to tell you, Johnny Max, about recyclemyelectronics.ca, because if you have old electronics, old devices, old cables, I don't know if you have a drawer full of them or a closet full of them or a room full of them or a floor full of them.
We all do.
Don't throw them in the garbage.
Where can we go?
Those chemicals will end up at our landfill. Go to recyclemyelectronics.ca.
Nice.
And put in your postal code and find out where you can drop it off to be properly recycled.
That's a great idea.
And it's May. Oh, it's not May. It's almost May. It's almost May. Okay, May Day. But the Toronto Maple Leafs baseball team, they made a big signing, a big splash, and they play at Christie Pitts. And I'm urging the listenership to make their way to Christie Pitts and check out a Leafs game this summer. Get a beer, get a hot dog, just take it all in, fill the hill. No ticket required. It's far more expensive to see me at the Elma Combo than it is to see the Toronto Maple Leafs at Christie Pitts. I have a book for you, Johnny Max, The History of Toronto Maple Leafs Baseball.
Do they still pass the hat around?
No, that's actually the old ownership. So the new ownership found that a little cringy, does not do that. So no hat gets passed around.
Okay.
New ownership.
That's great baseball. We go down, because I'm in St. Catharines, go see the Welland, what's that?
Something fish.
Something fish, yeah.
Yeah. Whitefish?
I'm not sure.
Anyways, the Welland fish. Catfish?
It could be catfish.
But they're good, right?
Yeah. No, it's great
Big
baseball.
success story.
Great baseball.
Yeah. We just signed. It's a very controversial signing because he's got some baggage. But the best player, possibly because he's only 35 and he's still great, and the only reason he's not in Major League Baseball is due to the baggage that I mentioned.
Yep.
But this gentleman, UCL Puig, you could argue could be the best, the highest skilled baseball player to play in this league.
Wow.
And
that's something.
Yeah, that is something. So, again, there's some baggage there. It's not all so clean. But it's one of those things where the only reason you're able to sign this guy is because of the baggage.
Yeah.
But, of course, there's baggage. And some people...
We all have baggage.
We all...
That's what makes great songwriters.
Everyone's going through something, right?
Absolutely.
Everyone just keep trying to improve yourself here. Okay.
We used to get told, so I've been reffing hockey for 20 years.
Okay.
And we used to get told, come around mid-November, big meeting is, remember, Christmas time, you have no idea what sort of pressure other guys are going through. So just take it a little easy.
Everyone's going through something, and you have no idea.
Yep.
Good attitude there. Okay, good outlook. Now, you mentioned you were on the radio. I'm dying to know where and what and when. When were you on the mic on the radio?
I've been off for, I think, 6 years, and I did 15 years before that. So I started there was a buddy of mine in the Irish scene, Eamon O'Loughlin's passed away since. Great guy, and we were sitting at a bar one day, and I'd listened to him on the radio as well as my buddy Hugo Strani, and I grew up with Irish radio on Chin and stuff like that. So we're sitting at the bar, and I said, man, I'd love to get into radio. I remember listening to, Wolfman Jack when he was in Toronto, Don Daynard, blah, 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 blah. And he says, I do a show in 1430. I'll get you in there. So I asked, and they went, sure. And the funny thing was, it was me and Chuck Jackson, and we were the English language programming.
But wait, when you say I'm worried because somewhere here, when you say 1430.
1430, yep, that station.
CJCL.
Yep, it was CHKT at that point. So CJCL, it was also Foster Hewitt's radio, CKFH at one point too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
CKFH.
So that was a multi-language radio. It was Chinese owned. Great people brought me in. We were right after the Greek show. The day would be I would have hockey practice at 9 on a Sunday. I would then coach a clinic to 11 or 11:30. Come home, drop the kids off, pick up gear, go do my matinee in Burlington, and then leave that at 8, go pick Chuck up at Rockin' Docks, he'd finish, and then we drive up to Richmond Hill and get on the radio. We get to the station about 5 minutes before we're going on air, and then play. And Chuck lasted about 3.5 months, and I lasted 8 years after that.
Wow. And
then, because I absolutely loved it. Had great festivals backing me for some sponsorship, which you need. And then finally, I just sort of had enough. But then a year later, a buddy of mine opened up an online station called Hayes FM in Port Credit, and I became the blues show. Did that for another 8 years, and then started my own through Peter Whitaker. Started my own radio station called Blues Canada, something like that.
You got to know the name of your own show.
Well, it's a long time.
Johnny Max. Oh,
And
yeah, but this is the concussions, right?
Yeah,
12
yeah.
concussions. Okay.
And what happened was I brought in 14 other radio shows and played it, 8-hour loop, right? And did that for 5 years. But I couldn't make any money at that, and that was draining the other show.
Maybe it should be a podcast.
I was thinking about that, but I'm not even sure I have the time for that anymore.
Well, you're a busy man, Johnny Max. You're a busy man. You got to make tough choices.
I loved
here.
radio, man. Radio, I heard so many great blues artists, soul artists, country artists. I'd play almost anything. And, man, it was just, it's shocking how many people don't get to hear this music. And like one of my taglines was, "This ain't your daddy's blues." Right. So it's just so good. So.
No, it sounds amazing. And because of our, our time together here, I can hear, you got the great pipes, but you got the great stories. Like, the history of different genres, and you're a good guy to just rap with about music.
Don't let that get out to the public. They will.
Too late.
Yeah.
Too late.
We have to listen to them again.
But Johnny, did we miss anything? So I know you get a long drive ahead of you, even though you're leaving with some delicious Palma pasta lasagna. Okay, and you got more than that, but you won't be drinking that beer because you're clean and sober now.
No, but I have the Toronto Maple Leafs history
You'll
right
love
here.
the history. The Butler brothers, it's all in there.
Wow.
Shout out to
that was Jack Domenico, right?
That was the gentleman. Yeah. The Domenico family, they still call it Domenico Field.
Okay.
The Domenico family sold it to the current ownership. And I think this is now the third season with the new ownership. So Jack sadly passed away, and the family decided to sell the team. But now, one other thing there, it was the Inter-County Baseball League for forever. It's now the Canadian Baseball League.
Oh.
So there's been a change, and we'll see what that resolves in. But I think the Leafs are the only team that don't have ticketed. Like you can't buy a ticket to see them.
Is it still Southern Ontario based?
Yeah, so it's still the same teams. I don't know what the plans for expansion are in the future. I'm sure they'll have to leave Ontario now that it's a Canadian. They'll have to add new teams. Maybe that's the long-range plan.
Yeah.
But, they're still the same. You got your Barrie Baycats, and you got your
Brantford Red Sox.
and the Hamilton Cardinals, I believe.
Oh, okay.
You got London. London's got a team.
Yeah.
Guelph has a team? Yeah. Guelph Royals, I think, or something like that. But yeah, great baseball. But again, no ticket required. Just get your butts at Christie Pitts and sit on the hill with a hot dog and a beer. You can drink beer there without having to hide it. Good times, man. Good for everyone but you who can't drink here. But is there anything you wanted to say to the listenership, and then you'll be driving home going, I never got to say this. It took us a long time to make this happen. You're now an FOTM. That means friend of Toronto Mike.
Okay.
And I enjoyed this thoroughly. Love talking about the blues with you, and people should check it out.
Look, it's shows like this are what allow people to find out what else is going on, because we're all busy. I love what you do here. I mean, when Blair told me about it, I thought it's perfect. You've done 1,800 shows. I only did 15 years, so.
Well, I'm catching up to you because I feel like 2012 is. I know I started 2012. I'm not thinking about it. So 2012 I started. So for me it's 2027. I will finally catch you. 15 years of recording.
Well, I would do I do 50 shows a year, so 750. You're way past me.
Well, okay, on that, yes, but I want the other record. Come on, I want the other record here, Johnny. Johnny, I want all the records. Okay, you're the vinyl collector. I collect records of a different nature.
Oh, nice segue. I like that. Woo. It's been an absolute pleasure, brother, and I do apologize on air for missing the first time. So,
well, 12 concussions will do that to you, man. Yeah, I feel bad I gave you a hard time about it.
Those are only the ones I can remember.
Also, I'm glad I wasn't so stubborn that I'm like, this asshole stood me up. He's never coming on Toronto Mike. Then I would have missed this great conversation.
You're not that Scottish.
But my grandmother on my father's side was Scottish.
Yeah, that's what we do as Scots people. We hold
a grudge. A Morrison.
Yeah, we hold a grudge until you're dead, and even then, we're not sure if we let it go.
Shout out to groundskeeper Willie.
Oh, it ain't. That's brilliant.
It ain't more than what God gave me, you Puritan pukes. I didn't cry when my dad was hung for stealing a pig.
Oh,
But I
no.
cry now.
Scots guys don't cry because we get our tear ducts removed when we're one.
Let's enjoy some haggis together one day.
Absolutely.
Oh man, this was great.
Great.
Johnny Max. I'll let you know what Blair thought of this episode. I got this John Prine thing of Blair Packham sounds amazing, so people should go to your Johnny Max.
Everybody can
thing.
find out where we're playing at JohnnyMaxBand.com. It has all the John Prine shows, the Bluesy Christmas shows, and the Last Waltz shows, as well as Johnny Max Band shows, and where you can get the brand new music.
I love it all. Who plays the role of Mavis Staples in The Wait?
Nobody plays a role, but we do the song, so that would be the amazing Keisha Wint for the most part.
Love it. I love it when the Staples singers and
Oh, yeah.
do the Last Waltz with the band. Love it. Love it. Love it.
Can't beat Mavis.
Still with us, thankfully, but she's amazing. Okay. And that. What an awkward segue into. I'm like, Mike, you're just going to do it? Yeah, just say the words, man. And that brings us to the end of our 1,889th show. 1889, that number. Okay, go to TorontoMike.com for all your Toronto Mike needs, including tickets to the Elmo gig at the top of TorontoMike.com. You can click Elmo gig and buy a couple of tickets. May 21st, the Starlight Room at the Elmo Combo. Rob Pruce and a very special guests. That's all I can say. I'm not going to tell you what, but something awesome is planned. Much love to all who made this possible. Again, that's Great Lakes Brewery, Palma Pasta, don't leave without your lasagna,
Ooh.
Nick Iones, RecycleMyElectronics.ca, and Ridley Funeral Home. You got your measuring tape.
I got it.
Gotta go to my calendar, Johnny. Hold on here. Who's up next? Who's next? Oh, I actually kind of dig this week because not only did we just talk to Johnny Max, but tomorrow there's a deep dive into Nirvana the band, and we'll talk about Nirvana the band, the show, and we'll talk about Nirvana the band, the show, the movie, and my guest is the Globe and Mail's Barry Hertz, your subject matter expert. And then Wednesday, I mentioned Colin Cripps is back to kick out the jams, and then Thursday, it's the Toronto Mike debut of Paris Black. See you all then.